In your bulletin today is an outline of what I'm going to be talking about, so you may want to take that out and take a look at it as we go along, or just listen and you'll take that home and use it as kind of a reminder of where we're going together today. Every day do something that will lead us closer to God. I love those words because that's what everything's to be. We do life together and we do life with God. Anybody know what the word oxymoron means? And no, it's not an insult, but do you understand what it means, oxymoron? Anybody come up with any of those? Anyone? Okay.
Jumbo shrimp.
What?
Jumbo shrimp.
Jumbo shrimp. Yeah, very good. Excellent. Somebody listened in school. Very good. That works out good. There's some other ones here, icy hot. It's a dual thing. Do words that cancel out each other, but we sometimes look at it and think it makes sense. Passive aggression. How about this one? Working vacation. Don't you love that one? It was a working vacation for me. Yeah, well, that doesn't quite fit its well here. How about, you like that leather jacket? It's genuine imitation. Yep, it is. It's not the cheapy one. It's genuine imitation. Or how about this one? Government efficiency. Or my favorite, it's just a temporary tax. Huh? You been there for that? Yeah, you understand, you know what I'm talking about. You know what the greatest oxymoron of all history is? It's this, a lukewarm Christian or lukewarm disciple. That's the greatest oxymoron of all. I mean, when you look at that, you think to yourself, man, I can't believe that people would come up with that, but that's what it's like. See, the problem in today's world is that sometimes we think that that's normal, to be a Christian that's sometimes a lukewarm Christian. Now, you may not believe that, but in reality, you know what it means. When we get into this thing where all of a sudden we have this personalized faith in the closet prayer, all that kind of stuff, my faith is a very personal thing. But in reality, nowhere in the scriptures Jesus said it's a personal thing. Oh, he does talk about the fact of going into the prayer closet. That's because people kept wearing bells and all kinds of fancy outfits and standing on street corners and praying real loud so everyone could hear them. And it's like, don't do that kind of thing, But on the other hand, don't hide yourself in a closet, especially when it comes to being a Christian and sharing your light before the world. Don't put it under a basket. Remember, put it on the hillside so everybody can see. Very important. Jesus says that sometimes we get this idea that somehow we're to have this kind of, this private spirituality that somehow makes us kind of go away and not be there. And sometimes we can be lukewarm. You know that? You can be lukewarm and you may not even know about it, Now my wife, who I love dearly, she's right now in the top of the mountains in Colorado with 16 inches of snow and it's still snowing. I checked with her on the way over here. But my wife is... So this morning, I decided that it's important for me to call my wife and tell her how much I love her. All right? So I call her on the phone. I'm doing the good. I'm also putting extra coins in the bank, just in case. Cha-ching. So I decided to call her. So I give her a phone call and that thing. Now, if I call my wife and I say to her, hi, babe, how are you? She'd say to me, oh, that's kind of lukewarm. So I thought, I'm going for the full deposit here. Full mother load. Here we go. All right. So I said, Connie, how are you? And she goes, oh. And I said, I love you. And she goes, oh. I was thinking she's going to say something like, you're a good man. You're a good boy. She says to me, that's the way you're supposed to say it. What? She goes, not lukewarm. You're doing it the way you're supposed to say it, It's like if somebody says to you, I love you. And they say, do you love me? And they go, I love you. What do you think? Guys, you'll pay dearly for that one. It's like when my wife says to me, do I still look fat in this dress? I'm like, how do I answer that one, Sometimes you and I find ourselves reacting in these lukewarm manners, but there are people who read those kinds of things. They read it. They take a lot from that. I love you. Yeah, I love you too. No, I love you. My wife goes, that's the way you're supposed to say it. She understands. She knows those things. It's good. The problem is in today's world, sometimes we're so lukewarm, we don't even care how we say words. They're meaningless to us. You understand what I'm saying? It becomes meaningless to us. We live in this numbing world that all of a sudden calls us just to kind of be lukewarm. Don't do anything. Just kind of don't get your head above water, hold on to things. And therefore, people do some crazy things. The elections that were just held, I mean, there's some crazy things, and yet people don't go, oh, this is crazy. We just go, whatever, We're just kind of living out there in that lukewarm society itself. Sometimes that goes over in our Christian faith. Sometimes, people say, so are you a Christian? And we go, well, yes. I mean, remember the old adage that says, if you were a Christian, would you have enough evidence to convict you? Where is it at? Sometimes we look at that and we sometimes declare what it is. In Revelations, the 3rd chapter, there are words that are written to the churches back then. I love this because the words are written to the churches because it was a way to describe the churches and where there's some issues. I love it because there's a whole list of the different churches, and what they do is they kind of fit some of our churches today. Like if somebody would say to you, if somebody wrote a letter to this church, what would they write? Okay, let me help you out with this. If I was writing a letter to this church, I'd write and say, you are a loving church. Amazing. At least you are on Sundays. I don't know about the rest of the week, but on Sunday mornings, you're loving people. You're a good job. Everything else is doing good. So the writer of Revelation says there's this vision that he has, and the vision is that all of a sudden they write a letter. There's a letter to be written to the churches of a place called Laodicea. It's like when they write a letter to the Corinthians and they say to you, you are a loving group. You know what love's about. Love is kind, gracious, patient, everything else, But they say, but you forgot how to love. So this letter is written to the church of Laodicea. It says this, I know you inside, and it's written in your picture if you want to do it. I know you inside and out, and I find little to my liking. You're not cold, you are not hot. Far better that you were either cold or hot. What you are, get this list. Number 1, you are what? Stale. Anybody like stale bread? You are what? Stale, he says. Now let me go a little deeper. He says, you are also what? Stagnant. Been around stagnant water lately? You got a sewer lagoon here somewhere, You are stagnant. And finally gives him the worst of the worst. You ready for this? You are what? Warm. The people I love, said Jesus. The people I love. Now catch this. I call to account. I prod, correct, and guide them so they'll live at their best. When my wife corrects me sometimes, and I get a little challenged by the correction, she said to me, I'm only doing it because I... Oh, sorry, you've been there too, huh? Huh? I'm only doing it because I... But now let's be honest. If you've ever been around people in relationships where all of a sudden nobody says anything, whatever, do whatever you want, I really don't care. What do I care? Do whatever you want. But when you really love somebody, sometimes you have to do a little prodding, don't you? You got to sometimes just call it for what it is. And it's an okay thing to do. It may not be accepted right away, but really there's a reason behind it all. That's what Jesus said. I do the same kind of thing. He says, I correct you and guide you so that you will live at your best, he says. Then I love the rest of the passage. So what does he say? Up on your feet, about face, and then do what? Run after what? Run after God. Don't you love that word? Run after God. I love it. Look at me. He said, I stand at the... This is what he goes through. He then says, I stand at the door and knock. Remember this passage? And if anybody hears my voice, what do? Open the door, and guess what? I will come in and what? Sup with them. I'll have supper with them. I'll come in. It's no problem. You ever have anybody knock at your door? Huh? Now, the next part, I don't want you to speak honesty. But did you ever have somebody knock at your door and you pretend you're not home? Now, don't raise your hand. I don't want anybody to see that. But it happens sometimes. You go, I'm not going to answer that door. I know who it is. It's a salesperson. It's my relative. I'm going to pretend I'm not here, I mean, we do that sometimes. She says, you know what? I knock at your door. You invite me in. Guess what? I'll come down. I'll sit with you. And I won't sit there and yell at you or scream at you. I'll come in there and I'll say, let's have supper together. Let's talk. Let's be in relationship together. It's what it's all about. That's what Jesus talks about. James, the 1st chapter, verses 22, 27, the Message Bible. Don't fool yourself into thinking that you are a listener when you are anything but letting the word go in one ear and out the other. What I want you to do is 2 words. What is it? Do something. Do something. Do something. You see a problem? Do something. You see a difficulty? Guess what? Do something. You see a need? What do? You do something. The challenge today is that we have this new, it's like we have a definition of things and we just say it's normal. You hear this? It's normal. Do you see what's happening in the world, in politics, all around us? Do you see that? And what do we do about it? We say, oh, that's just normal, just the way it is. Can you believe that? Now, honestly, as Christians, we're to be on the front line. We're to say, I'm sorry, I think this is the emperor's new clothes, and I don't think he's got any clothes on. Now, I'm using that as an oxymoron. But the idea is, there are things that are going on that aren't right. We need to do something about that. Have you ever heard that before? And have you ever heard Jesus say anything like that before? And yet in today's world, what do we say? It's what? Normal. It's normal. That's what we do. I got a word for you here. Normal is not working. Do you hear me? We're becoming so numb to what's going on out there in the world that we're not speaking out. As Christians, we're to do something. Do something about it. We're to speak. We're to say something about it. We're to call it out. In fact, what Jesus would say to us is, what I want you to do is to be, ready for this? Weird. What's the word? I want you to be weird. Don't come to Jesus and go, Jesus, thank you. I just want you to know I've maintained my normalcy. I'm just normal. Jesus would say to you 2 words. What are the 2 words? Do something. What are the words again? Do something. If we live out the Christian life to the truest sense of the word, what it talks us to do is that we're to slap a label on ourselves. And you know what the label says? What weird. Jesus doesn't call us to be normal because normalcy keeps changing. I mean, you know some of the stuff that's going on today? We'd say to ourselves, are you kidding? We would never do that kind of thing before. Now, sometimes we would, like ride in the back of pickups and, jump on the runners and boards of pickups and we do all kinds of crazy things. But Jesus says there's a norm. It's not this normalcy. We're to be weird. Jesus says, are you kidding me? He said that's what we're believing that everything is the way it's supposed to be. And we don't talk, we don't deal with things, we don't function with things. We just let it go on as it goes on. No wonder it continues to slide downhill. We just call it what? Normal. That's just the way things are. I mean, it's just where we are. People today, the whole thing is kind of broken, Our world is that way. It just isn't working. And sometimes we think to ourselves, why are we as Christians trying to be normal when God created us and calls us to be weird? That's the word that Jesus says. If we really knew God, how would we act and react in certain situations and circumstances by what we see around us? Would we find ourselves just looking at it and saying that's normal? In today's world, it's normal to be broke and to run about this high on credit card bills. We just go, oh, that's normal. I got $50 in the bank. What do I care? Normal is sometimes when we find ourselves being overwhelmed in life and we go, that's just normal. We're just all busy. Do you hear that? Don't you love that one? My daughter says to me sometimes, Dad, I wish I could, but I can't because I'm too busy. I'm like, you think you're too busy? No. My daughter several years ago came and said, Dad, I'm taking another job. I said, you're taking another job? You guys make all kinds of money. She goes, it's not enough. I need to take more. You know what I said to her? You'll never have enough. It'll soon be you're wanting. You'll be at that place in your life. That's the normal today. Normal is what is broken. We just say that's the way it is. The fear that creeps into the world, and we just go, that's normal. Do you know what? Do you realize when people turn on televisions and they look at it today, they go, do you see what's going on? You say it sometimes, don't you? Because you still have that little bit of godness in you that says, this isn't right. There's something wrong here. It's that way. We sometimes say, as long as I'm out for myself, everything is normal. So when somebody comes along like a preacher or the scripture and says to us that what we're to be is to be at a task where all of a sudden it's God first, you sang it, thy will be done, we'll pray it in a minute. And then we just go, yeah, okay, whatever, but somebody's looking out for number one. And that's normal in today's world. You see, our goal is to put things back in order again, where God really is first place. That's the issue that happened with Adam and Eve. You know, all of a sudden God says, I'll be your God, you hold it together, everything, just don't eat certain things, and then we reversed it. They said, no, we'll be God, because you may not be after our good interest. And so we go through reversing it. Everybody in Scripture, whether it's Moses, anybody, kept reversing things. Abraham, you're going to have a child. Well, I'll take care of that. I'll go find somebody to have a kid with, and then it'll all work out. God said, that's not the way I have it planned. Oh, it's okay. I'll take care of it. And God says, you know what a mess you've created now? Ishmael, and now all of a sudden, Father, this is all not going to be good. And yet sometimes we find ourselves in that particular place in our life where all of a sudden we are challenged out there. And one of the things that falls by the wayside is this thing called thankfulness. And we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. It's like Christmas. You say to people, what is the most stressful time in your life? You know what they'd say? Christmas. And for some of us, it's Thanksgiving because we got to prep all the food. Are you serious? I mean, that's the way we're doing. Okay. Last Monday was my birthday. All right. Now, in my family, I used to say to my family, or they'd say to me, Dad, when's your birthday? I go, when do you think it is? September? No. October? No. Now, the next answer is going to depend whether or not I leave you in my will. November. There you go. We only had to go through half the calendar, not all of it. November, that's good. What day? Well, give me a little credit for knowing it's November. I go, yeah, we've gone through 6 other months till we got here, and I finally had to say yes to you, the whole thing. So what I do in my family is I buy my kids presents on my birthday. Now, I'm going to tell you, if my kids were here today and I'd say, when's my birthday? You know what they'd say? November 5th. No problem. We know. So my kids get to the point where all of a sudden I go, oh, that's when it's going to be, November 5th, the whole thing. They go, yeah, that's when it's going to be. And I thought, great, I can handle this whole thing. So anyway, in the process of doing this, I say to them, they'll sometimes see who's first to call me at midnight. Because whoever calls at midnight, the closest to midnight on my birthday, they think gets the bigger prize. All right? So it's like, that's what they do. And I'm telling you, I have no problem in my family coming to see. They call me and say, are you coming to see me? Where before it's like, are you coming to see me? And it works out great. So I decided to make the rounds. So I do what I'm supposed to do. And then as I start out with my wife, I take her to La Mi, we eat, and then we're ready to go. She goes, where are we going now? And I said, we're going over to see my daughter. She works and runs a school. My grandson, So she runs a school thing. So she's altogether cool. So she loves Caribou hot chocolate milk. So I go through the line, I get the whole thing, and I'm headed off to her place. All of a sudden, about 3 minutes out, I get this text message that goes, are you coming to see me today? Happy birthday. I said, I'll be there in 3 minutes. Keep that door locked or buzz me in when I get there. So I walk in with the whole thing. I always take her 2 so she has one she gets one to give away, It's a pricey thing, but it's okay with me. I make this thing happen. She meets me at the door. She goes, Dad's my dad. Give me the chocolate. And so we got done with that and said, where are you going to go next? I said, I'm going to go see my son. He runs Whole Foods. I said, let's go over there and see him. So I go into the place. I'm looking for my son. There he's standing there looking out the window at Whole Foods. And I thought, what the heck? So I go over to him and I said, look who's here. Give me a little lovin'. He goes, just a minute. I said, what's the deal? He goes, look up there by the stop sign. I go, what's that? And he goes, there is a family standing up there, a man and a woman and 2 kids. And they're looking for money. I said, yeah. He goes, we may have to move them off property. I thought, okay. Look who's here for your birthday. He goes, I don't know. Got to look up company policy and see. They're working at Amazon now. I got to look up company policy and see what we're supposed to do with these people, everything else. And I thought, oh, that's a bad deal. So I said to him, I said, it's no problem. I'll take care of that. He goes, what? I said, I'll go up and take care of that. You are? I go, yeah. And the whole thing. Now, what he didn't know was I was going to go up and give him some money, you know. But that's, fathers do that, especially, you know, religious fathers, you know, set a price for their son, what they're supposed to do, and everything else. So I go up and the whole thing, roll down the window, and I give them the money and the whole thing. And they had no idea. And I just said to them, here, I said, it's my birthday. You know, I thought we'll add people to the game. You know, it's my birthday. And they didn't speak English and had no idea. I think they were from Mid-East somewhere. Anyway, and I thought, oh, whatever. So anyway, I gave them the money, everything else. I said, yeah, I've gotten a good deed for the day. I pulled out of the driveway, and my wife's sitting next to me, and she goes, is that all you're going to do? I said, so what else should I do? I thought, this is tricky. I'm on ice, thin ice. What should I do? She said, well, you should go over and get to know them. I said, what? She goes, get to know them. I said, well, I gave money. She goes, no, you need to make them no invisible anymore. You need to say to them, do you have a place to stay tonight? Do you have any food? Because they can come to our house. We do this all the time at our house. I have people living in our house sometimes. I have no idea who they are, but all I know is it's part of my Christian call and duty. It's not for everyone, but it's what we do. And so I thought, okay. And so I said, okay, I'll go back and I'll talk to him. Are you going to give him any more money? I said, I gave him $4. She goes, you have been blessed. Okay, I'll go to the bank, I'll get some money, and I'll go bless them good, you know. So I go to the bank, I walking in, the whole thing, you know, and here all these people on my birthday are lined up in the middle of the day. And I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to be here forever. And my attitude is going down the tube. I mean, I am lukewarm to the point of lukewarmness. And they go through the whole line, everything's there. 2 people are helping, and I'm making critical comments to myself about why these 2 people are working for everybody else. And they're talking about the weather and all. I think, come on, move this thing along, you know. And finally I get up to the front of the line. I'm looking, and these people don't quit. And I'm thinking, what in the world? I got to go. And I thought, I don't really want to get there. I don't really want to go back. What am I supposed to do? And all of a sudden this kid walks up at the counter. And young guy, tall guy, whatever, and he's got one of those moppy hairdos, you know, the ones that got little curls coming out all over the place, you know, and I thought to myself, well, there's a dude, you know, whatever, you know, and all of a sudden he goes, so I went up the window, he goes, how can I help you? I said, I'll get some money out of the bank, I'm going to get the money, I'm going to go up and help these people and everything else. He goes, that's amazing. He said, you know what? He said, what are you thankful for? Now, I don't have many people ask that question, especially when I'm in a bank. I don't think isn't there something about separation of church and state so they can't ask me that question, you know? What are you thankful for? And I thought, this is not putting me in a good mood. But I thought, okay, I'll answer the question. Okay, what is it? Why am I thankful? I'm just thankful there. That's what I can tell you. And in the process, this dude says to me, he goes, I told him, I said, well, I'm thankful for everything else, thankful, you know, that I'm doing this whole thing and everything else. He says, I'm thankful for you today. I go, okay, where is this all going? You want to give me a loan or something? I mean, what's this about? No, he said, I'm thankful for you. I didn't ask that question, but he just went on. He said, I'm thankful for you. And I said, well, that's interesting and everything else. I said, yeah, and I'm doing this whole thing and everything else. He goes, yeah. He says, I know what it's like not to have anything. He said, I just graduated from high school last year. Now here I am. I'm working at Whole Foods. I'm working at Wells Fargo because I don't have enough money to go to school. And the whole thing. I thought, man, you look pretty cool. You're a pretty neat guy. He goes, yeah, I was in high school. I was a cheerleader at North High School. I said, really? He goes, yeah, I was a cheerleader. I thought, man, you do look like a cheerleader. I mean, you act like a cheerleader. I thought, that's really great. And he goes, yeah, I was a cheerleader there and everything else. And my family grew up, I was with my mom and myself, and we lived in a house with 8 people, and we lived in one room. And I did that all the way through school. In fact, that's where my mom and I live now, is in a house with her and I, and there's 7 people in the house now, and I'm there. And I'm trying to get enough money to help my mom out and then save a little money on the side in order to go to school. And I thought, would you like $100? And then I thought, well, that's not going to work, because the guy gives me money and I hand it back to him. That if it's on video camera at the bank, they're probably going to go, uh-oh, something's wrong here, and they'll fire him and I'll be in trouble, you know. So I just said, man, that's really cool and everything else. I said, I love the way you shared that story with me. And he goes, yeah. And I said, and it's my birthday. And he said, is it really? Whoa. He goes, happy birthday. And I was like, whoa, what am I doing here? And man, what a thing that was for me. I just thought, that's amazing. And he said, are you a Christian? I thought, I heard this from this lady in Colorado, you know, Judy was up there. This guy's asking me again. I said, yeah, I am a pastor. Not that that makes any difference, but I always say that, you know, I said, that pastor or whatever. And he goes, yeah. He goes, can I pray for you? Now I'm thinking, this is a full service bank. Yeah, you can. So he does this prayer for me as we're standing there. Now, I immediately felt as though I should, what? Oh, come on now, friends. Stick with me. Huh? I should pray for him. So I said, let me pray for you. And I thought, man, I got so many things to pray for you about, but I'll do that. I'll pray for you. You know, and all of a sudden I did. But I was conscious, self-conscious. So I'd go, oh, God, please bless Isaiah Thomas here, and all this goes on in his life and everything else, and amen. Because I didn't want anybody to think I was practically praying. And that I wanted to look around and make sure nobody was looking at me or something. Now, you've never done that, but, you know, it happens. And he thanked me, and I thought, man, I think I have just been blessed. And I didn't come in there for a blessing, but I have blessed, and I'm thankful. And I turned around to walk away, and you know what he said? He said, hey, Phil. And I turned around, you know what he said? Here's your credit card. I said, thank you, Isaiah. I appreciate that, man. I could have been without a card somewhere, and you made sure I had my card. And I thought, well, see that interaction that took place? I'm sharing that with you because that sometimes the word of being thankful opens doors for us. Do you hear me? Connie's in Colorado, so I felt bad for myself last night. I was hungry. So I decided to head to Walmart. So I went to Walmart, because if you go to Walmart after 9 o'clock, their roasted chickens go from $9.99 to $6.66. It sounds like a bad number, doesn't it? $6.66? But it's $3 off and 33 cents. So I go there to get my chicken. You know, a bunch of folks are there. We all kind of stand around and wait until the guy comes with the stickers and marks them, and I get a chicken for $3.33 off. Why? I have no idea, but I do it, you know. So I do this. I get the chicken, you know, and the whole thing, and I thought, there I go, man, I got my thing. And so I go over and I go through the counter. This is like 9:30 at night. I'm getting this chicken. And all of a sudden I go through the counter and everything else, and I'm thinking about what I'm going to preach about today, okay? So I go through the counter, and there's this lady who's standing there at 9:30 at night. Now, I'm going to tell you what. If you work at Walmart and it's 9:30 at night, the last thing you want, you're I hate to say this, you're kind of like your brain locked. You know, did you find everything? Thank you for shopping at Walmart. And I thought, I'm going to try to see what happens. So I said to this lady, I said, I want to thank you. Now, I'm telling you, I could feel it. She just goes, what? I thought, uh-oh. I may have violated this church and state thing. I said, I want to thank you. For what? She said. It's 9:30 at night, and you're here helping me, and I want to thank you for that. She said to me, "You want to thank me for checking you out?" I go, "Yeah, I want to thank you for that. That was a neat thing you did." She said, she said, "I've worked here for 3 years and I've never had anybody say that to me." Really. It's tough, I got 2 kids at home. And I have to kind of leave them there to take care of each other while I come here and try to get some money and get ahead. I don't have a husband anymore. And life's pretty tough. Whoa, I'm almost in tears here talking about this because I couldn't believe what was going on. And she just said the whole thing. And I said, "Well, I want to thank you about that." She said, "I want to thank you for saying something to me." I go, "Okay. You with me?" You see, I think sometimes the greatest witness that we have is the opportunity of using those words and telling people we're thankful. Now, if we had time today, what I was going to have you do is turn to the person next to you and tell them why you're thankful. But I know that you all can do that at any point in any time. If you don't, I have an assignment for you next week. As we get ready for the Thanksgiving thing, you see, sometimes it's a great thing when we say to some people sometimes, "Are you a Christian? Do you believe in Jesus? If you died tonight, would you go to heaven?" And that's altogether cool and good. But for some people, it's a little hard to do that kind of thing. And sometimes it's harder for the people on the other side to hear it. You with me? But I discovered last night for a lady who checked me out that if I use the word thank you, that's a word that some people have never heard. The scripture says that God inhabits our thankfulness. You with me? And sometimes the greatest witness we can have on another person's life, if we can't say to them, "Are you a Christian? Would you like to come to the Mingo United Methodist Church?" is to say to them, "Thank you." And make an invisible person visible. Do you catch that? Where we shake them out of their complacency by saying the word thank you. Or the spouse or person that we love, kids in our family that we love and care for, sometimes you say that word to them, it's a great thing. Now they may look at you and go, "What do you want?" But keep saying it, and you know what? They'll start sucking it in and going, "I love that. Oh, you did it right. Not lukewarm. You said it right." The greatest witness that I think you and I can have getting up to Thanksgiving and being this church and going to be the church is to go back out there in the world this week and find people that we interact with and find something, hopefully, to be able to say to them, "Thank you for." You with me? And be prepared to see what happens. Because people sometimes go 3 years without hearing that word. And you may be the person who preaches that word to them. Did you hear what I just said? I've been there. I've done it I've been out there testing it on the road, and it works. So rather sometimes going to people and saying, "We'd like you to come to our church," etc., sometimes knowing you plant the seed by saying to them, "Thank you for," and then giving that word to them. And if they look at you real strange and go, "What's it all about you?" I go to the Mingo United Methodist Church. Our services begin at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. I'd sure love, or 10 o'clock. I'd love to sure have you come and join, etc. But to speak the word. See, I think that's a spiritual word. I think it's a strong witness for us. And it's a witness that people are not used to hearing, and it's acceptable by many, including ourselves, to at least get us started. If you want to talk to people about, having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, go for it. But in today's world, there are a lot of folks that just hearing that word can make a difference. Y'all with me? They may think we're weird, but they'll love us. It's part of who we are and what it does. Now, the reason I'm saying that to you is so that when you do that, catch this, you're doing something. What did I say? You're what? Doing something. And when you go out there and you do that, you will not believe how God's prepped. Now hear this. You may think you're doing something for someone, but guess what happens? It's happening to you back. And be prepared. It'll come in the strangest way, but it gives over. It's what the Jesus principle and God principle is all about. It's what we're called to do. If you can't go out there and witness to somebody, you can go out there and say thank you to them, and they may not have heard it before, and it may be the one word they've heard in 3 years, and they begin to tell you their life story. Do you hear what I just said? It works. And I don't know who that person's going to be, but they're going to come to, it may be the person sitting next to you. But you go out and you do that and you watch what happens. God will use that in a way to make things happen. And if all else fails and they ask you, tell them, come next Sunday. The pastor's going to have this thing called the Thanksgiving chair. He's a weird dude. And it might all fall apart. Who knows? But come and watch him fall apart. You know, whatever. Just come and do the whole thing. Because next week, when we come together, there may be some of you that want to listen, but there may be some of you who want to tell me the story on what happened. And what happened when you spoke that word to someone. Do you hear what I'm saying? Because God inhabits our thankfulness. Here's the bottom word. We are Christians. We are disciples of Jesus. We are not lukewarm. And the thing that we offer to the world is this. I hope you can spell. H-O-P-E. What does that spell? Hope. Do you hear that? And do you know what's missing in this world today? What is it? Hope. Built upon our relationship with Jesus Christ and Christ's relationship with us. We're to speak the word of hope in a world that finds itself in darkness. And sometimes it begins by simply saying, thank you for being here at 9:30 at night at Walmart and checking me out. Whoa. That's how normal isn't working. That's where we are called. Do you hear what I just said? Remember the passage of Scripture I said? Jesus says, what I want you to do is to do what? Do something. Matthew West wrote this song. It's called Do Something. And I happened on it years ago. And I played it for the district superintendent. At the next meeting, I want you to play that song so everybody can hear it in all of our churches. And then I'm going to ask them, what are you doing to make things happen in your church? And I remember when she did, and everybody was sitting there going, I thought, boy, I'll tell you, if I had the Mingo people there, they go be the church. I'll tell you what we're doing. We're going out and we're saying to people, thank you, and offer thanks and watch their lives change, everything up. What happened was there was a girl from Colorado, and she was in microfinance in college, and she goes to Africa in order to do a 2-week stint. She gets there. She goes to an orphanage. She sees this orphanage is the worst place she'd ever seen. She goes, you got to do something about this orphanage. What are they going to do? So she says to her translator, she goes, what are they doing about the orphanage? Well, orphanages are run by the government, and nobody really cares. Well, you got to do something. Well, yeah, whatever. So the girl goes, so she goes to see these government officials. She says, what can you do about the whole thing? They go, nothing. They're kids. They're taken care of. Don't worry about it. They go, no. They got to have a place for everything else. They go, well, okay, whatever. She goes, what are you going to do about it? And she goes, I don't know, but I'll do something. So she goes and she talks to the people. She goes back to the government. She goes, I'm going to take these kids and start an orphanage. She found a place. She did this all within a couple of weeks. And she got them. And then the government said to her, congratulations. Thank you, Lord. Congratulations, all these kids are yours. So she called her father and she goes, I'm not coming home. He goes, what are you doing? She goes, I started an orphanage.